You have likely heard the saying, write like nobody will ever read your work. Honestly, that wasn't my fear. For me, the real concern was that someone may read my texts and discover my true thoughts, views, my version of the story, my pain and weaknesses. This fear used to terrify me about writing. The idea that someone I know might stumble upon my texts and read them was frightening. This fear kept me away from writing anything or documenting my journey. Even when I pushed myself to write, I did it in a way where I didn't reveal the whole truth, avoiding certain events as a cautionary measure, so that if someone stumbled upon my texts, they wouldn't mock me or get angry at me for feeling a certain way or having different opinions than them. I used to write in a way to hide certain words and expressions, making sure no one would understand what I wrote. All of this fear led me to convince myself that I don't have anything to say or that I can't write, so it's better not to try. The few times I tried to write, I would say, I write and wish and pray nobody will read it, so that they wouldn't discover that I felt different than them on many occasions. The fear of others and what they think of my true self blocked me from being my true self and freeing myself from others. This monster that lived rent free in my head made my life hard, and I had to face it to move on and reorder my life as I wished, to take control over it once and for all. The useless thoughts of what others may think about me. And this is the main problem in my struggle. We invalidate our own pain, our own emotions, just so that people around us do not feel uncomfortable or uneasy. We make ourselves suffer, put ourselves down to please others and to avoid criticism from them, which is not only bad but also dangerous. So, with all of this and all the fear I had, I decided that I would write down my version of the story on paper to validate myself, my pain, my struggles, my own true version of the story. Even if people find out my story and get myself ready to face others, even if they start to attack me. It was about my past experiences, rejection, and the way the teachers treated me back in elementary school. Because these events were always present in my life, always in the back of my mind. And honestly, that made things emotionally difficult. It made me feel anxious and sad, sometimes even stopping me from doing what I needed to do. I had never shared my version of the story with anyone. Even my brother, who was in the same class as me for 4 years, did not know I was struggling. I kept everything to myself, thinking it was for my best to not show my weaknesses to others, to keep my dark side to myself. The reality is that I was afraid of what others may think when I shared my version of the story. It took me 4 months or more to write it, piece by piece. Sometimes I deleted certain parts, even though they were true. The fear was always there with me, but still, I gave myself the time needed to write the full story and keep it with all the necessary parts. It was hard, yes, emotionally very difficult, yet it was worth the pain and the fear that I have gone through. I validated myself, consoled myself, heard myself, maybe for the first time, and validated the pain I felt over many years. I heard me out, the one who gave me the space needed to be me and share my version that no one knows. So if you have something you never told anyone about, a bad experience, a struggle you're dealing with, your version of the story, and you find it difficult to let go and move on, and the fear of what others may think of you blocks you from telling your story, here are some tips that will help you do it. First thing first, identify your fears. You need to know what type of fear you have. What are you afraid of that stops you from telling your story? Is it what others may think of you? Maybe you are afraid that people may reject you. You need to learn more about yourself and what blocks you from speaking up or putting your thoughts onto words and writing them down on paper. You need to know more and understand better the problem in order for you to find the solution to it. The second tip is get used to criticism, is to get used to getting criticized by others, to be judged by others, whether they understand your feelings and hardships you have been through or not. You need to get used to putting yourself in such conflicts and to stand for yourself, because nobody will do it for you. And don't stay still in your corner thinking of doing it when you are ready. There is no such thing as when I'm ready. Go for it, say what you want to say, do what you wanted to do, and face the consequences of it. This is how you get used to such conflicts. And for criticism, there are two types of it. The first one is when the person gives you feedback. Even if it's harsh, it's still something you need to consider, so the next time you will do a better job. And there is the second type, which is the toxic type. It's empty criticism, and the main objective of the person doing it is to make you feel bad. This one you should ignore. Yes, it's difficult to do so in the beginning, but with practice you will get used to it. One thing you should put in mind is don't give critics more attention than it deserves. The third tip, give your story a voice, is to do the work. Give your story a voice. Write it down on paper or record it. Put your feelings into words. By doing so, you validate yourself, your story, and put down the weight of your heart so that you accept what happened to you. 2, to learn to move on. By putting all your thoughts and feelings, you validate them. And by accepting and validating them, those screams inside you will stop.